Welcome back to Life After Work. My name is Solomon. I'm not going to be on the video today. However, I am going to try to cover some information here on these 5-inch 38 guns. As you can see over here, these are the kit 5-inch 38s. There's a lot of flash, a lot of cleanup. Plus on each one of these you get a side. Here are two sides, for instance, that go on it. All of them have to be cleaned and fitted, and so far I'm not getting a good fit at all. And in between these two sides you have to put what used to be the barrels. Now I've cut the barrels off of this. I have to drill 2 holes in each one of these and fit the brass barrels into them. That will then fit in here and they will articulate up and down. Now we'll get back to why that's not really a good idea the way I want to go in a minute. Next to the quarter here, all of this pile right here, this is flash and trash that's been trimmed and cut just for these 4 guns. So as you can see, there's going to be a lot of waste here, but that's all right. If I use these, I'll keep cleaning them up. Now, over here, and I'm using my other camera for this. This is a resin piece, and I'll try to show you a better shot of it. Anyway, these are the resin guns. I don't have to put the sides on them. I don't have to do any filling or anything, and all the detail for the doors and the equipment on the back of it are all molded in. But here's where my dilemma comes in. These pieces here are the pieces the barrel go into. I have to cut them off and clean them up. That won't take but a minute to do. There's a dimple in the end of each one of these that's a good marker for where the barrels are supposed to go in. I haven't tried to fit one yet. Undoubtedly I'll have to adjust those slightly with a small drill bit. Put the barrels in it, but then each one of these mounts separately into these grooves. Now, as an option on this particular box, I get blast bags. These blast bags fit very nicely on here. Now if I use the blast bags, I would drill them, put the barrel in them, and put the blast bags over these holes. I have a problem with that though, and that problem is simple. I have not yet found a documented case on the New Jersey where the 5-inch 38s had blast bags. If anybody has anything, let me know. But this makes more sense to use these, paint the inside of this black, paint these black, and it will look more like the pictures that I've seen. Now also, and I'll put the instructions up here, and what you're going to see in the instructions is I have several options for these guns. Well, here's a picture of a 5-inch 38. It's the one I had on my last video, and I have an option with quite a bit of this photo etch, because I also get the photo etch with this. With this photo etch, I can match that particular gun. Trouble is, I don't have any pictures that show that configuration of a 5-inch 38. So even though I'm given 3 different setups on this kit right here, the epoxy resin, there's only one that I see that works, and that's the one that uses this with the barrels in it set into these grooves, and then with all the detail that's on them, much more detail that's on this kit over here. Obviously this kit is just a lot of parts, but it's not really an enhancement to the model. So I'm going to use these. Probably not going to use the blast bags unless somebody can show me some pictures at the New Jersey that show a blast bag. I don't see any. So I think I'm ready to start putting these together. And I will use I'll take the blast bags away, put them aside, and I will use these with the barrels. So there we have it. I think I'm in good shape with that now. That will then take all of this model part here away. I'll put it back in the box in my spares. I may put one of them together just to see what it looks like, but I'm going to spend most of my time working on these 5" 38s here. So that pretty well takes care of what I'm going to do on those guns. Now let's take a look at another suggestion that's come in. I got a couple of messages on my email from Michael Mitchell. It really were helpful. I mean, they were very helpful. One was that the Seahawk helicopters, that's actually these. Hang on, let me see if I can get that in picture. The Seahawk helicopters that I bought, because they were just much better than what was in this model, were called out in the model. Well, Michael told me that they were incorrect for 1982. They didn't come in until later, I think. Anyway, he has told me what the correct helicopters are for this model. So I'm going to get some. Not that I want this to be absolutely correct, because it's a 1982 version, but as far as I'm concerned, it could be an 82 and later version, up to the fact that it's a museum now. But still, you know, I may mix it up a little. We'll see how that turns out. He then came back later in another video and mentioned that if I really wanted to clean up the edges around these aft gun tubs and get the stern correct, I could cut it the same way I did the bow. But in this case, I would have to cut it across here, around here, back into here, and then over to here. It's not a straight cut's my point. Well, guess what? I'm seriously considering doing that. So Michael, thank you very much. Because if I go ahead and glue this piece on, and I can finish up all of that smoothing around the hull, and there's a lot of it, because this was a terrible, terrible model. And the other videos I've seen on YouTube where this particular model was put together, they left the holes and the openings and the seams exactly the way they were when they put it together. Also, all along the main deck of this ship, they've got all the hatches and the doors and the openings and what have you that quite frankly are so shallow you can hardly see them. I'd have to do a lot of shading and shadowing to get them to show up. Well, I bought some photo etch that are all of the USN hatches and doors that you can get. Some of them are open, some of them are closed. This will give me an opportunity for a lot more detail. And I don't know how many of you realize this, I kind of like detail. So I'll get to the stern. I'll cut this open. Now, how am I going to do that? Well, actually, I've got a scriber. This scriber. Now, this is good for putting panel lines and what have you back in, but it's very fine. And I can come in here and scribe these odd angles that I need to scribe. And I'll do that a couple of times, but then I can go in with my X-Acto knife backwards, which most people understand how that works, and I can finish scribing And I think I can get this off with no lost space, or very little lost space. And that's okay, because truthfully, this deck is still tight in the ship and I want a little bit of space. So that kind of leaves me where I'm at. I'll work it all out, and I assure you I'll get these guns done. And I'll ask from any of my subscribers, Michael, if you're out there, let me know. I do not know of any 5-inch 38s that have blast bags on the New Jersey. Older models, maybe newer models, I don't know, but I'm not familiar with them. I've plenty of blast bags on the 14-inch, 16-inch guns, 14-inch guns, the big guns, yes, but not on the New Jersey. So, thank you very much. I appreciate you tuning in, and what's going to happen now is old Saul's going to get busy, if I can, and we'll see you next time. Bye.